As there's a drive in a deep left field by Castellanos, it will be.
Oh man, it's 8 o'clock.
And so that'll make it a.
I don't need the spotlight. I shine just fine.
Hi, I'm Karma, and yes, I am a bitch.
Brav Bros. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Brav Bros, your favorite podcast from the bros for everybody, for whoever wants to listen. I am your co-host, Steele Russell, joined as always by the one and only Valley Goots. Damn it.
That's it? That's all you had? Jesus, what a panic.
I've had a long week, and I didn't have a chance to think about anything, and I was like, I can put this together as I'm saying Valley, something will come to me, and it didn't, and that's unfortunate for our listeners. I have put this out there. I need you guys to give me more Magooter names.
I feel like there are some Magooter names out there. If you look through the DMs, you look through the comments, they pop up now and again.
I'll do a better job of paying attention and writing some of them down so I don't have another, whatever that was.
I don't know what
Valley.
that was.
Actually, now that you do it like that, I like it. Valley.
You did it confidently.
Goots.
I would have been way more into it, but I could just see the terror in your eyes
Just
as you were fumbling through.
sheer panic.
Yeah.
I tried.
Fuck, what am I going to do?
I tried my best, guys. But I want to start out with something that we got sent by our producer today, who is checking in on what's going on with the Brav Bros members. And if people don't know, we started the Brav Bros members, and that is a membership program. It is $5 for the month, $50 for the year. What it does is give you more exclusive access to us. We have our first community Zoom next Tuesday, June 11th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And we're like 55 members away from 250. And once we hit 250, we are going to be doing our bromance episodes, which is our rom-com episodes. We're going to recap your favorite rom-coms. We put out a survey to our current members to see what people were into. And we had 60 movies on there?
At least, yeah. It was one hell of a fucking list.
Yeah, it's a phenomenal list. Also curated, and our producer Scott helped us put that together, so shout out to Scott. But I want to give you guys just a little insight onto what you're missing out on once we hit 250 if you're not part of the crew, because the top 5 are fucking great.
They really are.
I was so excited, so I want to share with everybody what our top 5 is right now and what you're potentially missing out on if you don't click that link in our Instagram bio. So our top 3, or let me go down actually, all right? So at number 5, we got Love Actually.
Mm-hmm.
One of my favorites, honestly. That
Perfect
scene,
movie.
The scene will always live forever. What I didn't realize, and it blew my mind when I finally realized it, is the scene where the guy is pulling the sign. It's like, to me, you are perfect.
Yep.
That whole thing.
Uh-huh.
Do you know who that is?
Yeah, it's Rick from The Walking Dead.
It's Rick from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that until I saw that scene again years later. I was like, holy
Oh, my
shit, that's
God.
Rick from The Walking Dead. All right, so at 5, you got Love Actually. At 4, we got Bridesmaids, which I didn't know that was going to do so well. But I love that movie. Kristen Wiig at her best. 3 is an all-time classic, Clueless. At number 2, we've got one of my faves, 10 Things I Hate About You, a little Heath Ledger callback.
Uh-huh.
And then number 1, Rom Conahey taking the top spot. No surprise there. By the way, there's a lot of Rom Conaheys on there that we haven't even touched in this top 10, which could easily be pushed up there. I'm still hoping for Fool's Gold. I don't
think Fool's Gold is going to get up there.
I have a weird spot in my heart for Fool's Gold.
I love Fool's Gold. I think it's a great movie, but it's a great movie to me. It's not a great movie to everybody else.
Too.
Yeah.
But that means something.
This isn't for us. This is for the members.
Well, fuck. I like Fool's Gold. I'm going to keep pushing Fool's Gold. But number 1, How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Arguably one of the best rom-coms ever made. So it's not surprising that took the top spot. We are going to start out with number 1. That's going to be our first bromance recap. So we'll see if that hangs on when we get to 250.
I think what we'll do is once we get to 250, obviously we have to let the new members that are trickling in vote.
Oh, yeah. This survey will go back out.
Does that make sense? We'll give it a week until we close voting for the first round.
Well, we gotta wait for the first round.
Once we hit 250, then we wait a week, is what I'm saying.
Oh, okay. I'm down with
give
that.
everybody a fair shot to get in there because, they're trickling in. There's more and more every day. So we want to make sure everybody gets their fair shot because these are pretty close races. Let's be honest.
Yeah, and Fool's Gold could make a comeback.
Jesus Christ. I swear to God, if you make a bunch of fake accounts and you start just going through as a member,
You would never know.
Real Stussle.
That would be funny. Real Stussle voted 200 times for Fool's Gold and 1 time for forgetting Sarah Marshall. I think that's at number 10 right now.
Yeah, no, that's a 10. I know that keeps jockeying for position. So
yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this chart moves. I would imagine that How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days is going to stay towards the top.
I think so. Yeah.
I would imagine the top 4. Honestly, that Clueless isn't going to go anywhere, but we will see. I'll keep putting this out. We have a weekly newsletter that is starting. It started this week. It will continue every single week from here on out. So in that newsletter, every week you'll have the opportunity to vote. If these movies sound like your cup of tea, go ahead, sign up for Bravo Bros members. Join the fun so we can get these bromance episodes started. And we can, as of right now, we'll be watching How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. That might change.
Could change.
Stay tuned. But now let's get down to business. Because we just witnessed, some could say, a miracle. Because leading up to this season of The Valley, I'm pretty sure 90% of Bravo content creators, there's a couple out there, I think, who was it? There's somebody that we know that was very firmly like, it's going to be good. Was it Ryan Bailey?
I think Ryan Bailey said that,
I think Bailey was the one that was
I think he said no matter what. Well, actually, if you think back, we had an interview with Ryan. I forget if he was on our show or we were on his show. There's a bet out there regarding how good the Valley could be.
Oh, shit.
And I think we're on the losing side of that.
We definitely
I'm
are.
just racking my brain as to whether it was just you or both of us. Because I know you were very adamant about it not being
I was
good.
very gung-ho.
Yeah.
I was.
I may have just quietly snuck out of that conversation, but
What was the bet?
we'll have to talk to Ryan. We'll play back the tapes.
Oh, no.
There's something.
I'm going to have to, oh, damn it.
Yep.
Hey, look, you got to honor your bets. So we'll figure out what it was, and
I
I'll
think
make
you have
sure.
to cover yourself in peanut butter.
That's definitely not it.
You don't think
That's
so?
certainly not it.
Sounds like something you might do.
Why? I have never in
Don't
my
ask me why. Ask yourself why.
Look in the mirror, pal. What? No. We'll reach out to Bailey and figure out what that was. I think you're right, though. I remember that now. But that's not the point. The point is, the show was fantastic, and the finale was chef's kiss.
Yeah.
Like they just ended it so perfectly. Unfortunately, it was a very real event that was going on at the end, and
Who knew real events make good reality TV?
dude, like it's not hard to break the formula.
It's hard to organically find events such as this.
Oh,
Now,
well, yeah.
we had our doubts about the whole Brittany Jax situation, but the Jesse and Michelle thing, that was tough.
That was really hard.
And look, we're breaking this down. We're giving this its full attention. We're going to break this down in 2 separate episodes. And Bravo was very nice, and they allowed us to do that very easily by having 30 minutes of Jax's party and 30 minutes of 6 months later. It works out perfectly. So this episode will cover all of Jax's party, all of the stuff that we have questions about when it comes to Kristen making sure that she's getting back into the group, Zach's full on against Janet, all the things that happened at Jax's party we'll cover in this episode, and then we'll get into the, if you want to call it the current stages, in our next. So make sure that you go, and when this one ends, you hop into the next one because we've got more for you.
Yeah, and they will be dropping pretty much simultaneously, so you can roll right into the next one. We don't want to delay the process here. We just want to, when we do longer episodes, we don't want to drop an hour, 30-minute episode. We want to give you a little reprieve in the middle so you can take a bathroom break if you're at the office or something like that. Maybe grab a snack. Who knows? Do whatever you want to do within that time frame, but both will be up so you can enjoy them at your leisure. But first things first, I want to get this out of the way immediately. Okay? Well, 2 things. 1, Jax is an asshole.
Okay.
2, Janet's a loser.
Yeah.
She stinks on ice.
Which of those was the, well, actually 2 things. What was the original?
The original was Janet's a loser.
Okay. All right, cool.
Yeah. Jax is an asshole. That's inherent.
Yeah.
But yeah, Janet, awful.
Yeah.
But good for TV.
Great for TV. Worked out well.
Worked out very well. Cannot stand her.
No.
Especially after this episode.
No, but I'm, And this is what this entire season did for me. They set so many things up, and we still didn't really end with any resolution. And I know there's cliffhangers,
good ones.
They're really good
I
cliffhangers.
know.
It's insane that they were able to deliver on this without having. And look, we talked about them not having a reunion, how much of a travesty it was. They actually don't need a reunion because they picked the cameras back up 6 months later and gave us more footage for all the questions that we had. I don't really need to see Zack and Janet yelling at each other at this point. We can wait till next season. You don't want to take away from what the second season is going to be, especially now as we're hearing that no cast changes are going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that excites me. I'm
too.
pumped.
I haven't been like this since
Probably ever. When you had to click play on season 2 of Vanderpump.
Yeah, maybe. Or like when Roslick ended and I was like, oh, is Monica coming back?
Yeah.
Like, that was exciting until we found out, like, no, she's definitely not. And then all my hopes and dreams came crashing down to the ground. But yeah, you're completely right. When this ended, I was like, whoa, I have so many questions, but I'm not like, why didn't they answer them? Because they gave you enough. They gave you just enough to be like, all right, there's some resolution in sight, or these two are definitely not cool now, but you could definitely see how they'd reconnect in the future. That they just give you enough to speculate. It's like just a taste.
Yep.
Just a taste so that you're excited for the next season. So I firmly agree. And I do think that the delay in picking the cameras back up, because it was a 6-month gap, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe that had something to do with them being more comfortable, being like, we don't need the reunion. Because like we said, we heard from somebody that's pretty credible that the problem with the reunion came down to money. And it was whether they do it in the Watch What Happens Live studio or an actual studio. And they couldn't come to terms. And they just said, let's scrap it.
Yeah.
So I think that they saw the finale potentially and were like, I think this is good enough. We'll figure out the reunion next year. And it's not crazy for new shows to not get reunions. That happens frequently.
No, it definitely happens frequently. And we did give Bravo a lot of shit because this was, at least for the last calendar year, this was the year of picking the cameras back up.
Yeah, it was.
And it seemed like every show that we were doing, the cameras got picked up, and a lot of the times it just didn't hit.
Well, I want to counter that. Because the only time I don't think it really hit was Beverly Hills.
Beverly Hills last year.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think the other ones.
Beverly, didn't they do it twice?
Oh, did they
do it last year and this year?
They did it this year with Mo and Kyle, and they made us watch them
Yeah,
tell
that's
their kids on
fucking
TV,
terrible.
which was horrible.
They
The
did
year
it with some.
before-
Well, they did it the year before for VPR, which we needed.
We definitely needed that
Yep.
one. They picked it back up for
Summer House this year.
Summer House, which was needed, and
Yep.
they picked it up for this. And I think there's one more we're
There's
missing.
one more that I'm missing that didn't hit. I can't remember what it was.
So we're
though.
50-50.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take that.
Yeah,
though. I'll
I
take
know.
a 50-50 split.
We were worried though because whatever that other one, and I can't remember what it was, and clearly it wasn't good. Whatever that, whatever that was, we looked immediately and said, "Don't do this every time. Just
did.
don't. Sometimes just let it sit. Go to the reunion. Let it sit for next season." But this one hit.
This
This
one
was
did.
very necessary, and it works perfectly. This was, in a nutshell, the perfect finale. And the only gripe that I have for the entire season is just that Kristen Doute, who's a huge member of the cast, seemingly was not in the last 3 episodes.
Insane.
We haven't seen Luke in 3 episodes. We saw a little bit of Kristen here and there, but she wasn't involved.
I think that's bullshit, and I
Yeah.
think that's Janet-centric once again. She was
is,
the
yeah.
driving force to
But
keep
the producers need to step in and say, no, we have to do this.
Yeah, like it's inexcusable.
Mhm.
Honestly, we needed more Doty there. Whether you love her or hate her, she is a major factor for the show even being a thing.
Exactly. The people that were tuning in early in this season, in the series, were there for Jax and Kristen Doute.
Yeah,
You can't remove Doty for 3 episodes because some newbie is saying, I don't want her there.
especially on a cast trip.
Yeah. And look, before everybody goes crazy, if it was a role reversal and it was Janet who was having issues with Doty and Doty was going on a cast trip and said, I don't want Janet there, we wouldn't give a shit.
No,
We would be like, all right, whatever. You know what? She's a newcomer. She's really going to have to make her mark next year. It's Doty. People are watching for Kristen Doty. You can't leave her out, producers.
agreed. I thought that they mishandled that.
Yeah.
But as far as the final product, it was still a great show. It's just, I already commented when they were in Big Bear, my issue with Doty not being there because Jax goes off the handles and no one checks Jax.
Yep.
Doty will check Jax.
For sure.
and having that factor involved is huge. And
That would have been huge too for what was going on. You have somebody like Janet who's not stepping up for Brittany. You have the other women in the group were saying, yeah, she didn't drink, but they didn't stop Jax from yelling at her.
No.
Doute would have. Maybe it would have ingratiated her back into the group of the girls. Maybe they would have had an issue with Doute doing that. Either way, we don't know.
We never will know.
We never will.
What we do know is next year, Doute needs to be a bigger factor in this show.
For sure.
And that's the thing. It's not like she's not going to perform, because when she was on screen, she pushed the needle, as she always does. She caused the shit, as she always does.
Even in this episode, she did something that I've never seen her do before when she was talking to Michelle at the end of the night. She didn't push it too far. She let it simmer, which again adds to the cliffhangers.
But she knows how to simmer too.
She does.
Her issue, as we've said multiple times, she gets into trouble when she gets mad, and then shit just comes out.
Yeah.
That's her problem.
Yeah.
If she's not aggravated,
she said it herself, yeah.
Yeah, she will sit on something for a very long time, but it's just waiting in the back of her head until she gets pissed off. Then it's just like, bleh. And then she says something and then tries to reel it in, but now it's too late. Cat's out of the bag. And then acts like, whoops, didn't mean to do that. But it's like, yeah, you did.
Yeah, you definitely did. Maybe the timing was off, but you meant to do it.
Yeah, you were going to let it slip at some point. But without further ado, let's dive right into this episode, because we got a two-parter coming. And we start out with something. They do the whole run through in the beginning. I get really irritated when they do this, and it takes too long.
Though, I know.
They do it in everything, but some take longer to get into the first scene.
Yeah.
The only reason I get irritated is because I start to write down and then I have to cross out. And I start to write down, I have to cross out because I'm like, fuck, we're still not starting. But in those quick scenes early on, there's two I want to note.
Yep.
The first one is Michelle not wearing her ring.
Yep.
Yeah, just a little hint right there. It's pretty much foreshadowing, honestly.
Yeah.
And then the second one is just Nia and Danny, because they don't do much this episode, so I want to shout them out here just to watch them communicate, because they're talking about the house in Valencia, which Nia doesn't want to move to Valencia. It's too far away.
That backyard looked insane.
The house looked great.
Yeah.
No knock on the house, but the way they're able, just the communication. They need to make a tape of their scenes this year and send it to all of the married couples on Bravo and be like, this is how you talk to each other. This is how you resolve conflict. If you have a disagreement, we use the Nia method.
You could have just said Danny Nia.
No, the Dania
Not
method.
everything has to be shortened.
It makes it better.
Does it?
The Dania method sounds legitimate.
Okay.
The Danny and Nia method that's a little bit of a word salad.
All right.
The Dania method.
Yeah, the more you say it, the better it gets.
Yeah, see?
Do it one more time.
Dania method.
Nice.
Show that to every married couple on Bravo. This is how you communicate with one another. Kudos to those two throughout this season for just being such a lovely couple. Now get your shit and run. Run away from these people before they ruin you.
I know.
But we get to the first real scene, and that's Jasmine and Zack, and they're recapping the whole baby moon debacle. Jasmine points out, don't worry, everybody's stuck up for you. And then he brings up the post, which we loved the post. I thought it was great trolling. It was very funny. It was taken way too seriously. But he even says it was just a joke, and I think Jasmine's trying to soften the blow here, because she goes, she admitted she was wrong. That sentence should end with, for not inviting you. She's wrong for not calling you and telling you that you're not invited. It still makes no sense to me.
No, there's a lot of contradictions based off of what Jasmine is telling Zack, what Janet tells Zack, what Janet's telling to Jason. Nothing seems to make any sense. When Jax gets involved later, nothing seems to make any sense. So I don't know who to believe.
No, me neither.
I mean, I know who to not believe, and it's Janet.
Yeah.
But all these other pieces in motion just aren't together. They're all saying different things. So it's not going to make Zack feel any better. Obviously, yeah, we're on Zack's side with the troll. It was funny.
It was very funny.
The fact that people got uneasy about that is insane.
It's crazy.
Zack is coming with his helmet. What are we scared about? Or why are we upset about this? Is he going to ram down the door with his helmet?
Poor guy. I
love Zack. I think it's
Zack.
great. But I can't stop throwing the helmet at him.
No, it'll be forever the helmet. But let it be known, Zack is the number one guy in the group for me by far. I fucking love Zack. So to me now, the helmet's endearing.
Well, I've got Danny at the top just because Zack didn't. There was a comment in there when he was going back and forth to Janet that no.
Well, we'll get to that. We'll get to that later. But he's still my number one guy in the group. But Jasmine does tell him that she doesn't want to be friends because she, quote unquote, can't trust you, which
We don't know what the fuck happened between Jack.
See, now you're
Now I'm
doing
doing it. Between Jack and Jesus Christ, between Zach and Janet. I can't do it. We don't know what happened, and how many times was this brought up throughout just the first part of this episode? Zach is talking about it. Janet's talking about it. Kristen's talking about it. Everybody seems to know what happened. Why not fill us in?
I think that they alluded to it earlier in the season. They had some kind of falling out in the past, like 2 or 3 years. Something went down where it shook her trust in him.
But what was it?
I do think that it was talked about more, and I can't remember right now, and I could be wrong. But at the same time, the recent behavior where, she keeps saying, I gave him a chance, you really didn't. I
Yeah.
haven't seen that happen once, and I'll wait to get into all of that when we get to that scene. But Zach's upset, and rightfully so, but not in like, I'm sad. You've now activated Zach, and he's like, I can't wait to see her again, and I'm going to let her. Yeah, hey, now you're really doing it. Welcome.
God, I can't stop.
He's activated.
Oh,
It's fun.
What the fuck have you done to me?
I told you it's fun. Yeah, so Zach's activated, and he's ready to check Janet, so we have that to look forward to. There's a lot of setups in this episode that pay off, which is great. We love when that happens, but we get to Brittany and Jax at the bar, and it's almost the perfect metaphor for their marriage. Because she's inside busting her ass, making that succulent wall, which, by the way,
Looked great.
awesome idea. Love the succulent wall.
We should get one of those in here.
That's actually not a bad idea. I could hang it up on the brick wall over here.
What was the? At some point, there was a big wall of roses. I think it was in Miami, and you're like, we could do that.
Oh yeah, I did say that. Not actually that one, but the succulent wall I could fuck with.
Succulent wall
'Cause
would
that's
look
also
good.
easy to maintain.
Ooh,
I'll think about that.
Yeah.
You might be onto something there. But anyway, back to the show. The metaphor for their marriage, because she's inside busting her ass with the succulent wall. Jax is outside cleaning the sign for an extended period of time with a rag.
Yeah.
Like, dude, it's a black sign with red neon. At night, you're not going to be able to see anything but the red neon. Why the fuck are you wiping it excessively?
I understand if you're excessively.
That's not a word.
Nope, should be.
What's the word? I swear to God, I'm an intelligent person, but when we do this, I forget incessantly. Jesus, Steele, get it together, man. He's wiping a damn sign incessantly.
Or
But that-
extensively. I think that's.
I combined them.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I did.
Oh.
We need to stop combining words for a little while.
I can't do it. I can't stop. I don't know what happened.
Damn, I've pointed us down a very bad path.
Yep.
But that's literally their marriage in a nutshell. She's doing all of the work inside. When you see the interior of the bar eventually, you can tell this is all Brittany.
Well, that's fucking insane because when we first saw this bar after Jax drops the bomb at the Christmas party saying we're going to open for the NFL season next year, he doesn't want Brittany there.
Nope.
He brings her in just to appease her because she's asking a ton of questions, and he goes, fine, come on in and you can talk. And all of the other owners, all the other investors are sitting there like, thank God Brittany's here.
Yeah.
Where have you been? Like, we would love to have you in a text group because we want to bounce ideas off of you because you have good style. Here she is putting together a succulent wall the day of. If you had let her in, maybe she would have done it last week. Maybe she would have done something else. Every single person, and I know this is like jumping a little bit forward, every single person compliments it and says, that's Brittany's style. Thank God she's here. Jax, you're a fucking moron. Not only are you a terrible husband, but you didn't include your wife, who's way more creative than you, that could have made this bar so much better instead of just picnic tables under a tent with a couple of TVs and a chandelier. That's all you had. You fucking moron.
It's a good point. But as they're talking and Brittany surprises Jax with his sister, Jenny, she shows up, and it just breaks my heart for Brittany, and it will happen multiple times throughout this episode, but the minute that happens, she's like, are you sorry for being mean since I did something nice for you? You shouldn't have to do anything nice for him to feel like an asshole for being mean to you. And like this whole reward system that's been set up in their marriage is very, very upsetting. And the only saving grace is, and this is for next episode, obviously, for the second half of this whole thing, but the only saving grace is that she seemingly really snaps out of it. She doesn't just kind of wake up. Like, she gets a full-blown wake-up call where she starts calling out all the stuff that we've been seeing and that her friends have been seeing. So that makes me feel a lot better, especially recapping this, because in that moment, I'm like, wow, it's literally a reward system. Are you going to be nice now because I brought your sister here? that shouldn't be the caveat for him treating you well. So
Yeah.
that was just kind of a
Sitting
bummer.
there, bringing it back, and I really do think that Big Bear was that tipping point, not only because it was so bad and she clearly was not drunk and he was still harping on her, but I think also because the rest of the women rallied around her.
Yeah.
Because they finally saw what was going on. And I think we talked about this last week or the week before. There's obviously a little bit of some semblance of doubt when it comes to what Brittany's doing and if she's drinking too much, because there's a ton of stories out there about her drinking. And Jax is saying shit on House of Villains, saying that she had a stroke, but it was probably induced from her drinking and stress and all this shit. So yeah, there's going to be a little bit of doubt there, but they saw firsthand she was not drinking, and they saw what kind of monster Jax can be to his wife. So I think them asking questions, she has a conversation with Janet, she has a conversation with the other women. Michelle's going through it with Jesse too. Like, she had a support system that maybe she didn't have before,
point.
and people actually got a peek into what her life was like, and that allowed her to rise above it and start to see things a little bit more clearly instead of being cloudy.
I think you're right, and I think that they've probably seen glimpses of it throughout the years where they're like, oh, Jax is being Jax again, but being that close to it in a film setting to where, wow, he's doing this and he's being filmed, like, what a piece of shit. I do think that's actually a very good point where it's like now she has this support system around her to give her potentially that confidence or just the security to be like, you know what, I can do this. So that's a really, really good point. But the funniest part of this conversation is his big argument to her because she brings it up again in this conversation. And that's where I really feel for her because she brings it up every time they're getting into it. You're not attracted to me.
Yeah.
His response is not, yes, I am, you're so pretty, or anything like that. It's, I'm just so stressed, and proceeds to list all of the stressors that she is also sharing.
Mm-hmm.
She's doing all of these things that you are doing as well and doing more of it.
Yep.
He goes, I got the bar, cruise, the podcast. I'm like, she's literally involved in all of those things and handling it so much better than you and still being nice to you and trying to figure out a way to keep you two together.
Yeah.
So you don't get if there was any other reasons, you could say those ones. Don't say the ones that she's involved in and doing more of the work in, because that's ludicrous. That's insane.
Yeah.
But he's an idiot. So, I mean, what do you expect? And in this moment, she brings up baby number 2, and her feelings are hurt that he never even addressed it really, that, hey, we're supposed to try right now. And instead, he was kind of putting it out there that he was having second thoughts and wasn't sure it was the right time. And she just says to him, if that's the case, then tell me that. Say that to me. We both agreed, not the time to bring another child into this marriage by any means.
Mm-hmm.
She finally realizes that too.
Yeah.
She's like, maybe we shouldn't be bringing a baby into this anyway, because I don't want this for our future.
No, and it's something that we actually just talked about yesterday when we were going through, I guess, Jersey. Why were we talking about this with Jersey? I don't know what the hell's going on anymore. But we did talk about this, and we talked about how relationships move forward and the progress in which you make it. And I think that Brittany was in a place where she was doing that. Okay, next milestone. This will save our marriage. Next milestone. We'll get a bigger house. We'll get a bar. We'll have another baby. Things like that. That she was just looking forward to get away from the whole Jax of it all, thinking maybe another kid will soften him up. Maybe, and you talk yourself into it. So I think that's where she was. And she could have easily fallen for that trap. Jax was too scared in his own selfish ways to do another kid. But here we are, and thankfully that didn't happen because it allowed Brittany to move forward without the bearing of having another child.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's a good point. But we move on to Luke and Kristen. Haven't seen them in a while, but they're headed to Colorado for 2 to 4 weeks. We're not entirely sure. Luke's going for the month.
Yeah.
Kristen, who knows? But I wrote down in my notebook, I was like, they're just not on the show now. Because in my mind, I'm like, they're leaving right now to go to Colorado.
That's what I thought,
I'm
too.
like, fuck me. Like, they're just not part of this cast.
Yep.
That sucks. But they are going to Jax's opening. So they start to talk about the drama with Michelle a little bit. And Luke points out, you said that she has had a boyfriend for a year. That's news to me. And she's like, damn, I meant to say that
This happened 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And we're just getting this conversation now. That's annoying to me.
Because they haven't been on the screen.
I know.
They haven't been on the screen. That's annoying. This needs to come out earlier.
Yep.
1, 2.
It's like no longer relevant. I mean, it is because we're watching Michelle and Jesse, but it's so far removed from when that happened.
And it's not because their marriage is over at this point. So that's irrelevant. And that's the other thing. It's like, you know what you said and how you said it.
Yeah.
And that's what Doute does. And even in her confessional where she's like, I meant to say that she had a boyfriend a year ago. The whoops, that didn't seem genuine.
No, that was not a
That was-
convincing
That was
whoops.
shady. She's like, whoops.
Spicy.
Wink, spicy. Damn it, I gotta
Yeah.
start using that word. I told Preston I would get better at saying spicy. That was a spicy whoops. That's a good word. It's a great adjective.
It is.
But moving on, we get Michelle and Jesse, and Jesse wants to talk to Jax before Brittany leaves because we didn't talk about it last Valley episode because we had so much other shit to talk about. But that ending where Jax is so steadfast about she would never leave me. Like, she not in a million years. Like, she would never ever leave me. And Jesse heard him, and I think that there's something admirable. You're giggling. What's up?
We didn't talk about it because you decided to take that time to go on a Jax rant about how you want to fight him.
That's true. Yeah, the Red Rough and Rowdy.
And I just couldn't do it anymore. I just started laughing at the end of it. But yeah, go on.
That's fair. That's fair. That hey, offer still stands. Exhibition boxing match. Bring it on, bitch. But I do appreciate, and I think it's somewhat admirable. I don't think Jesse's like a stand-up guy, and I think that we've seen that throughout the season. I do think that he tried. I think it was too little, too late. But I do appreciate this approach that he's taken with Jax to be like, dude, you're where I was. I want to help you avoid this pitfall of losing your marriage. Like that, I can appreciate.
He's doing it in a way of sort of a roundabout way of talking to Michelle about how their marriage is crumbling.
I know, yeah.
It was
it's
very
interesting.
odd. It was a weird
uncomfortable.
dynamic. It was very uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Both of their scene, this scene and the one, present day, was very uncomfortable. The second one was way worse. But him doing this, and he had a little moment too when he's talking in his confessional about how it's really tough when you're on opposite ends of the spectrum, or you're doing the opposite when it comes to your relationship. Michelle's leaving, and I'm trying to keep her there.
Yeah.
That's not the opposite. You're trying because you're trying to come back from a shitty place in which you were.
Yes.
If it was the full opposite, it would be you're fully invested and you love your wife.
Mhm.
We haven't heard him one time say, I love you, please don't leave me, or I love you, why would you do this, or why do you not feel the same way? He's just upset that she's the one who's leaving.
Yeah, and he almost guilt trips her into like trying. That's what I noticed about it too, is his vocabulary and what he's saying to her was interesting. But he's also coming to terms with the fact that his wife does not give a shit about him anymore.
Correct.
And the way that she clapped back after he's like, he said that Brittany would never leave, and she like interrupts him. Oh, did you think I would never leave you? I was like, well, don't brag.
Yeah, don't brag.
Settle down. Because that was the only time she really showed emotion, because the rest of this scene, and this is where I say Jesse, it's almost a guilt thing where he's like, yeah, I thought you had strong family values and wouldn't abandon me.
Yeah, that's guilt.
Yeah, easy.
Uh-huh.
And she goes, I'm not abandoning you. I just don't have these feelings for you anymore.
Yep.
Go to his confessional, and it does seem like this really fucked him up. And I'm not sure if it's because he is so madly in love with her. I'm sure he is still in love with her, or if he doesn't want to be the product of a failed marriage.
I think that's more, I think the latter is way more exactly what he's going for.
Yeah.
Again, because it doesn't look like he's showing the scenes that we've seen where he's trying to come back. He's not showing any emotion towards
I think he
her.
was showing emotion in this scene.
In this scene, but then you have to question, is he showing emotion for a failed relationship or because he loves her? And you just asked that, and I still think the answer is it's a failed relationship. And I think that what he's really thinking about, which does suck, is the fractured family for Isabella.
Yeah.
I think that's what his main focus is, because every other thing is just him talking about how they don't have sex anymore, and then back in the day they used to have sex. In this moment, we can get back to April 2020.
That made me sad.
Which made me sad too. But we know what happened.
Yeah.
During April 2020, you were locked down. You had no other choice but to be with your wife, so you made the most of it. And then as soon as things opened back up, you were out.
Yeah, and that's what led to these problems.
Exactly. So yeah, I'm just not buying it. And again, it sucks and it's really tough to watch. And I do feel sad for both of them in very different ways. But I'm not buying the whole, how could you do this to me? It's more of a, you're leaving me, and I'm upset about that because I'm selfish.
I see that. And I also, if he was going to say, how could you do this to me? It's like, well, you were a part of this, pal, so let's not put it all on her. And the other part of it is, does she have emotions? Because I've yet to see an emotion out of her.
Maybe I'll give her a little bit of grace. Maybe she did have emotions. And maybe she's
numb.
so far checked out that she's numb.
Okay.
I think she made her decision a long time ago. I think she made her decision before we even started filming.
Okay, then explain to me when she's getting into it with other people, she still doesn't elicit emotion.
That's a good point. Maybe she doesn't have emotion.
I mean, this is relationship
Maybe
aside.
she's a robot.
But relationship aside, even when she's
That's a
getting
good
into
point.
arguments, like the only time she's gotten amped up was at Doute and she yelled, but I don't know. There's just something there where it's like she doesn't seem to give a shit most of the
Yeah,
time.
a bit cold.
I don't know.
Mm.
I just wanted to point that out, but this is it. I mean, this is the scene. This is where it's done. It's over. They're not coming back from this. Where it's so funny that we're getting another blindsided moment. It's not funny.
Yeah.
But like not funny, haha. I don't know why I had to clarify. But the fact that he's saying he's blindsided, it's like, well, Jesse, man, we've been watching. There's no way you're blindsided.
You told us that you weren't blindsided. You know that this is coming.
Yeah, it's very clear she's done. Like
Yeah.
she in this scene specifically, she's out, bro. I'm sorry.
She's been out, but this one should be very apparent to you at
She's
this
trying
point.
to pretty much tell you in this moment, like, I don't feel like that anymore, Jesse, period. It's not but. There's no comma but. It's just I don't feel that way anymore and I wish I did. So the blindsiding thing he says later, I don't buy it. But that takes us into the soft opening of Jax's Studio City. And first thing I wrote down, underlined it, nice work, Brittany. Because you can tell she did all the work for it. And I love that everybody that came into the bar that night, they all said, as you pointed out, Brittany, that was Brittany. They're all shouting Brittany out. So that had to make her feel good. And I've had my differing opinions about Brittany, why she wanted to be on TV, this, that, the other thing. And we speculated early on in the season was the Jax and Brittany separation for the show, because it happened literally as the show premiered. So all of those questions were going on. As the season has gone, I don't believe that it was for the TV. I don't believe that it was to try to drum up any extra press. I think what we saw was her trying and trying and trying.
Yeah.
Could not do it. So I have the utmost sympathy for her. So when I watch these scenes and people do rally behind her and say, good job, Brittany, the smallest little thing, I'm like, fuck yeah. Yay.
Give her some recognition.
Yeah,
Hell
I'm, like,
yeah. She
cheering at
deserves
home.
something.
Give her fucking anything.
You know what you don't say? If you're going to yell at her about drinking, you don't walk over and say, should we do a shot?
Yeah.
You fucking idiot.
He doesn't know what he's doing.
No.
But Kristen arrives and it pissed me off and like right out of the gate because as soon as she sits down, that's tough to say. As soon as she sits down, she sells seashells by the seashore.
There you go. You knew I was going to do it.
Yep, I know. Saw it in your eyes. Oh, somebody messaged us and he said, how do you concentrate? Or, well, fuck, I should have screenshot it. But it was like, how do you concentrate staring into Shooter's eyes the whole time? And I'm like, it's really tough, pal. Someone's got to do it.
Somebody's got to do it.
But anywho, Janet and Michelle ignore her. As soon as she sits down, they get up and remove themselves.
Want to
from
get a
the
Diet
table.
Coke?
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
Stay there. Suck it up. Go through this. Squash it. Also, Janet, why are you still so upset?
She's still so upset, and she even has that confessional where she says, if anything pops off, I'll just run away or I'll waddle away. Like, no.
Stay
you
in it.
created this mess.
That's my whole thing. And look, we are very aware that she's pregnant. We're very aware that things get amplified when you're
Sure.
pregnant. You cannot start fires everywhere and then say, don't come back at me, I'm pregnant.
Yeah.
That's not fair.
No, it's not fun to watch either. It's annoying.
Like, you do it in the bar. You go and start some shit and somebody claps back at you and you literally say, I'm pregnant, don't talk to me like that.
Maybe you should stay out of the shit while you're pregnant if that's how you're going to do it.
You can't do both.
No.
You cannot start
It's not a
all the shit.
safeguard.
No, because you're starting everything. You're starting all of this nightmare. And then you back down. And that's bullshit. It's not fair to the other cast members because now what? They're supposed to walk on eggshells and not retaliate because you're having a baby. And yeah, in a normal world, of course you never go after the pregnant. Of
Right.
course you don't.
Yeah.
That is very obvious. But in this moment, you can't sit down group to group. You go through the whole fucking room and start drama everywhere you go. And then you're like, don't do that. And then you walk away.
God.
That's bullshit. And that's why we need Doty fully dotied.
Yeah.
And she's not fully dotied because she's been off the screen for 3
No,
weeks.
but I think that what she's learned in the last 3 weeks, and we get to a little bit later, is maybe you have to play Janet at her own game.
yeah.
Don't go right at her. because all she's going to say is, I'm 8 months pregnant. Please stay away from me. I don't need the stress. Okay, fine. I'll go to other people and I'll start talking about you and planting seeds.
That's
the way to go.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
You got to fight Janet with Janet.
I can fight Janet with Janet.
Yeah, the Janet.
We
method.
didn't start the Janet.
I don't know why that's coming up. Wait, because you got to fight fire with fire?
I don't know, just let's go.
Are you good?
No, I don't think so.
What's going on?
Just happy. Getting close to the weekend. Just a happy guy.
The connection was so clumsy. It worked.
Clumsy or just too far?
I don't know.
Yeah.
It worked weirdly, but regardless, let's get back into where were we? Janet, Michelle, and Jasmine have a conversation, and this is what pisses me off because she says, I'm glad I gave Zach a chance. You really didn't. At no point did you give him a chance. The chance that you're alluding to, which we're about to talk about because Zach brings it up, is the phone call. And that wasn't really much of a chance, but they bring up the Big Bear post again, which makes me laugh now, the fact that they're still so activated by this stupid post. They're like, what did he say about the Big Bear post? He said he was just trolling. He wasn't actually there. The fact that you still think he may have been there is so good. That is so good. And then when they find out that he wasn't, it was just trolling. She's like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's like, you can't in this moment be like, that's kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's been taking up real estate in my head for over a
I've
week.
been thinking about it for a week.
That's funny.
Is he going to post again and say he's in my neighborhood?
Oh my God, he should have.
He should have.
That would have been really
Once
funny.
he found out from Jasmine that it really affected Janet that much, I would just do it again and again.
You
Just
can't
do it on,
stop.
just like do it on her street. You know where she lives. Just do it on her street.
Like different cross streets that just circumvent her house. So she's like, oh my God, he's everywhere. And then start leaving helmets. But anyway, Zach joins the conversation. To his credit, he comes over and says, Janet, would you like to have a private conversation? Michelle interjects and goes, Janet, is it okay if he sits down? Would you like to have a private conversation?
You are a
We
bodyguard?
don't need the go-between.
No.
We don't need the go-between.
Go over to your husband. This might be the last moment you see him.
Yeah, you may never be together again. But she says, no, everything you can say in front of the group, which, as we have come to find out, is how Janet moves. She needs witnesses to corroborate her side of the story, even if she's lying, because her friends will back her regardless of what happened. And that is made very apparent by this scene right here, because she said, I was planning on inviting you. She says, I didn't tell Jax to uninvite you. Arguable.
Sure.
The second part is I was planning on inviting you on the phone call, and then you were really aggressive. That word is thrown around way too much because of the weight it carries these days. The word aggressive is a trigger word, and you're using that intentionally. And he says, no, I didn't. You were rude, and I checked you, which is what we saw.
Yep.
She was being dismissive and
She had
short
no intention of inviting
at
him.
no point.
Why would you have him? And I'm happy that Zach found out that that she had him on speaker with other people in the room, because she had no intention of inviting him. She wanted a very grovel to me. I just don't think it's the right time. She just wanted to feel good that Zach would maybe be super nice to her on the phone, so that then she could hang up and look at her minions and say, well, that's embarrassing, isn't it, guys? You see what I deal with? He's just trying to get back into my good graces, but I'm not falling for it. You were never going to invite him to Big Bear.
You had no intention of doing that. I wrote down, because I didn't hear what the second guy's name was. I said Simon and Ryman heard it, and they agreed that you were being aggressive.
Crock of shit boots.
Crock of shit boots. And yeah, seriously, those two guys need to fuck off from TV forever. You had your shot, and you sucked. The fact that, you can't be the spy and be standing in the circle live texting what's going on in pink boots.
Yep.
You're very obvious, sir. Everybody sees you right now. You can't be standing here doing this. Go somewhere else and do that. If you were behind a bush and all you could see was your Crocs underneath it, that would be funny.
That would
You'd
be
have
funny.
another chance. But instead, we get 2 scenes that we've experienced you in, actually 3, including tonight, because you're sitting at her booth giggling like idiots. But the 2 scenes that we've gotten prior is you being a fucking snitch. And then the second one is you sitting and giggling and smirking at Zach's demise when everyone else is Team Zach. Janet stinks. Team Zach all the way. We're going to have to wear helmets for next season.
Might have to.
In solidarity with our guy Zach. That's what we're going to do. But Jason joins the conversation. Oh, this was funny. This really
Yeah,
made me
I wrote
chuckle.
this one down.
This was really funny because Jason joins, and this is where Janet's like she's being snide towards Zach. Zach's fed up. He goes, just get the fuck out of here. Starts like chirping at her, yelling at her. Michelle saying, she's 8 months pregnant. You can't say that. And yes, you're right. You shouldn't be yelling at a pregnant woman. However, she keeps setting up these dominoes and he's knocking them over.
Yeah.
So what do you want from him?
Yep.
Jason gets tough. It made me laugh.
It made me laugh too.
It was very funny because he goes,
Don't do that. I would wreck you, bro.
yeah, I didn't realize he's got like a Pat Mahomes voice kind of too.
Yeah.
He's
he
got the
does.
Kermit the Frog. Hey, watch your mouth. I'll wreck you, bro. I'll wreck you. Hey, Esquire,
It's really good.
settle down.
Yeah, settle down. You're not going to wreck anybody. We've seen you play hockey.
Yeah, you're not that guy,
No.
pal. By the way, I noticed in the confessional today, or when I was watching it, Zach's sturdy. He's
Yeah.
got some traps on him.
Oh, yeah.
I take Zach over Jason
Mm-hmm.
all day.
All day.
Yeah, so don't go over there talking shit to him. I get what you're doing. You're protecting your wife, standing up for her. Good for you, but
Yep.
you don't have to threaten violence.
Let's not forget, Zach stood his ground when Jesse tried to roll through and get
Oh,
over
yeah.
at Doute.
He did. He did. So I'm Team Zach once again, and Jason Esquire trying to get tough in that moment.
Yeah.
Like,
We know standing up for your wife. I get it.
yes, I get it too.
Well, your wife's a shitty person.
Yeah, but you could also just say, yo, shut the fuck up.
Yep.
Don't then
Yeah.
threaten to escalate it to a fight you
And
can't
it's
win.
got to be really embarrassing that you're going to do that, and Zach laughs at you
In your face.
in your face.
Without even
'Cause he knows you're not
standing
going to
up.
do anything.
He's very well aware that this guy's not about to do shit. So don't it's so much worse when you try to be the
Mm-hmm.
tough guy and you're not that guy because it's very obvious. So yes, we get what you were doing. Did not work
Did
out
not
very
work,
well.
no.
But the worst part about this is they go to the booth right next to them intentionally and start talking loudly intentionally to now throw a dagger at Jasmine, who has been nothing but trying to be in the middle and smooth things over so that everybody can be copacetic and hang out. But no, now she's like, well, and Jasmine, I don't even remember what she said. She says something about Jasmine being involved in this.
Yeah.
And then Jasmine's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Don't do that. Don't make me be the bad guy. Don't drag me in the middle of this thing. I'm friends with both of you. And Janet, okay, have his back. Good luck with that. I would rather be hanging out with Zach than you
Absolutely.
all day, every day. So yes, have Zach's back. And also, she's not taking Zach's side. She's saying, I don't want to be in the middle of it. Leave me alone.
Yeah. Don't drag Jasmine into it just because she went on. And this is just a thing that Janet does. And it's what got Zach disinvited to Big Bear. Zach went and hung out with Doute and he was nice to her. Jasmine went and hung out with Zach and posted a little pottery. Then you got upset about that?
Oh, that's exactly what it was.
Yeah. She walked in there. She saw that. She said, how dare you go hang out with him? I'm going to throw a dagger at you too. If you keep doing this, everybody's going to be against you and nobody's going to give a shit that you're 8 months pregnant. They're not going to want to associate with you. The thing that made me laugh the most was Brittany coming over and sitting down. And everybody's very heated, and we're going back and forth. And Zach finds out that the other two were on the phone when she was on speakerphone. And he goes, clearly you weren't going to fucking invite me. You got these two on speakerphone. You did it to embarrass me. And that is exactly what she was doing. Brittany trying to find out what the hell's going on. She goes, I just want everybody to have fun. I was fucking cracking up at that. Because I get it. You do want everybody to have fun at this party. But this is a fucking Bravo show. Did you write it down too?
Thought we could have one night. I just wrote, why?
No.
No, we
You knew
can't.
that this was going to happen.
By the way, whose bar is this?
Yeah.
It's Jax's bar.
Yeah.
Like, of course this is going to go sideways.
I imagine that every night at Jax's bar is like that.
Me too.
Yeah.
There's no way this was going to go smoothly.
God, that
It's
was
a
just-
Bravo show.
Everybody love everybody.
What are you talking?
Jason yelling at
talking shit again? You come over there and kick some ass? I wish I picked up on it earlier in the season.
No, he just didn't talk enough, I guess.
No,
Or maybe that's his tough guy voice.
He turns into Kermit the Frog
Yeah.
when he gets tough.
Yeah.
I'll wreck you, bro.
God.
You won't. Anyway, Janet, Jason, and Jasmine, the Triple J's, sit down, or they're just having a conversation, and Janet seems to think that she's validated now because of Zach's outburst. And this is what I've learned about Janet is the zero self-awareness. She never, ever is wrong in anything. She tries to set up pieces so that she's never in a position to where she can be blamed for things. As Zach points out, I don't know if it's here or later, but I'm just going to call it out now. Zack points out this is how she's always moved. The thing is, she's on TV now. We have cameras covering all of it, so she has nothing to hide behind anymore.
Yep.
Everyone's seeing it now. So now when she's trying to claim that she didn't do any of this, I'm vindicated, everyone be on my team, it's like, well, no, everyone's going to watch this season back and go, wow, can't trust Janet with anything.
Yeah.
Because she gossips about everything. Even Jason recognized it.
Yeah. Yeah, Jason said it in his own confessional about his own wife.
Episode 2 or something.
She stopped working and she found a new job being a gossip.
Yeah.
Like, she definitely did, and she took it a step further by trying to get involved and find everything out, and then get upset about other people doing things, and trying to be the queen bee, and she's not.
She's not, and she keeps poking Jasmine, which is bugging me because Jasmine, for the most part, has been very neutral throughout the season. Like, she has not tried to pick sides. She's tried to hear people out. She dropped a rumor once because she was kind of led on by Janet to spill the beans. It was her mistake to actually do that. I think she knows better now than to trust Janet, but she keeps saying things to her like, you're not really talking to me like a friend right now. And I'm like, ugh, like, stop it. That's so manipulative. Like, just hear her out. She's upset because of you. If you're a friend, you will be like, oh shit, you're really upset. Let's figure this out. Like, I know you're stuck in the middle. I didn't mean to put you there. That's my bad. Do something. Don't keep poking her and making her feel worse and then saying you don't have my back. Stop putting her in the middle of things. And then I hate when people use this one when they're not actually good people. That's not the type of person I'm friends with. Then you wouldn't be friends with yourself either.
Yeah.
If that's the case. That's my least favorite defense.
All she wants is people to just do her bidding for her.
Yes.
And feed her information.
And feed her ego.
Yeah. That's all she really needs. She doesn't want anybody to question anything that she's doing. And it's very clear as day as what she's doing right now with Jasmine. And I'm just happy that Jasmine had enough of it.
Me too.
Jasmine recognized it. And look, she recognized it a while ago. And she said this about a bunch of other people on the cast because she is very middle of the road. And she's giving people chances and she's pointing things out. And she's just distancing herself from people who are going to cause her problems. A normal person. How about that? She sees that Janet's doing this and she stands up for herself, as she should. Now, obviously, Zach's going to get involved and other people are going to go after her. But I think this is just a moment for Jasmine to stand up and be like, fuck you. Who are you to question me about what I'm doing? I'm friends with who I'm going to be friends with. And yeah, it was fucked up that you didn't invite Zach. You were never going to. So don't dangle that in front of him like some weirdo.
Yep. And her confessional is very telling because Janet in her confessional is like, I'm not used to her being my enemy. Very specific word choice. She's not your enemy. She tried to check you because you're being rude and mean. And you took that personally because you don't like criticism. That's what happened. But you get Doute and Jasmine is over Janet and Jason. She's like, I'm done with those two. I'm sick of it. I'm over it. I know who my friends are. And then we go back. Sorry, this is where we start to jump.
Yeah, we start
around.
Jumping around a little bit.
It got a little confusing for me, but I kept it pretty much on track. I just had to cross out one guy right here. But Jasmine, Jax, and Janet are now involved in a conversation because Jasmine and Janet are sitting there. And somebody, was it Jasmine that told?
Jasmine went and talked to Jax
and said, hey, you need to figure this out because Janet's saying that she didn't tell everybody that they're not invited.
Yeah.
Jax, the one thing he's good for is he loves moments like this. Where he can interject and be like,
if somebody's going to run over and grab Jax and say, hey, why were you told to do this? Oh, I can get involved? All right, cool.
Sweet. Let me go over there right now. And he goes over there and says, look, I was just the messenger. Like, you told me that they weren't invited. First thing out of her mouth, watch your tone, I'm pregnant.
Yep.
So now Jax can't say shit to her. But Jax in his confessional says, Janet called me immediately after and said, did you uninvite them? So yes, you asked him to do it. And even if you didn't flat out say, hey, can you do that? You know damn well if you put that in Jax's ear, he's going to take advantage of the opportunity. It's like lying by omission.
Yeah.
If you plant the seed and it comes to fruition, that's your fault.
Yeah, that's 1,000% your fault. And we know this is what you're doing. And look, we have every reason in the world to question Jax and whether or not he's telling the truth. In this moment, I actually believe Jax.
I do.
And I believe it because we know what your behavior was like on that day. You were texting your weird boot friend. You were trying to get as much information as possible to see how the fallout was going. Not because the boot guy decided to text you and say, hey, this is what's going on over here. They're talking about you. You were asking him to give you a play-by-play. Why would you be doing that if you didn't know that they were all going to be upset about not being invited? You told someone, and clearly you told Jax.
Yep.
So it's very clear for us to see that because we're putting the pieces together, and your pieces are not that hard to figure out.
No, and can we also talk about, we glossed over it accidentally. I don't want to leave it out. When Michelle says to Zack in the initial interaction, she's pregnant, and he says, I don't give a shit or I don't care.
Yeah.
Is that what she's trying to use as when
That's
she says...
okay. That part I'm okay with. It was the second part where she says, no, you should care about that because, and then Zack cuts her off and says, what, is stress going to be bad for the baby and the baby's not going to get born? Like something like that.
Oh, he did say that?
He said some shit.
I didn't hear that part.
He didn't wish it there. So it's being spun into
She's spinning it into, he said,
say,
I want
wish-
her to, I don't even want to say it.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You know.
We don't even want to go down that road. That's what she's spinning it into. He was saying, one, I don't care that she's pregnant, which is okay, and that's fine because we shouldn't care that she's pregnant either if she's going to do all this stuff. But the secondary part was, what, is stress bad for the baby? Is the baby not going to be born at that point? Like,
Did he actually say those
yeah,
words?
Yeah.
Are you positive?
I'm 1,000% positive.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, obviously that's too far.
Yeah.
But that is also not saying that he wants that to happen.
No, it's not.
And that's what she went on an interview saying those things and then dragged Doute into it.
Yep.
Who we come to find out, and we'll talk about that in the next episode, she had a very traumatic experience in October that we will discuss. But the fact that she would drag Doute into that one when Doute didn't do shit involving this kind of scene is awful. And that shows you who Janet is. Like, she's opportunistic. She's looking for different things. Even by spinning something, what Zack said's fucked up for sure.
Yeah.
But to spin it in, he's wishing that you don't have the baby is very, very different.
Yeah.
So, oof. I didn't realize that. But we get a weird scene between Brittany and Michelle and Doute, and she points out Janet's the one that started this shitstorm. Janet is where Doute put her foot in her mouth, but she was the one that delivered the news, so it's easy to point the finger at her. It also was never discussed that Jax is the root of the rumor about Michelle.
Somehow he got out scot-free on this one.
Yeah, I mean, she does a lot, which is fucking annoying, but regardless, this is one of the cliffhangers where, like, look, we're not seeing it, whatever. We're not seeing eye to eye.
This was a very different move from Doute than we've ever seen in the past.
Walk away.
Usually she would escalate and escalate and escalate and then say something that she might regret or give us a little whoops.
Yep.
That's usually what happens. But in this moment, I think, and I wonder when she planned on doing this, because we've been saying it for a while, it is Janet. Like, we can see this. There's a trail of breadcrumbs out here that leads back to Janet in one way or another. Whether she was a middleman that was giving a message to Doute, or if she was the root of this whole rumor that Michelle was a Republican, she's been involved in everything. All these rumors have Janet all over them. So for Doute to walk in now at the season finale and throw Janet under the bus to Michelle, who may or may not care. Honestly, Michelle's completely checked out at this point. But to do it on TV is enough.
Yep.
Because that is probably why Janet's talking about Doute right now.
I would imagine.
Because she did that. But instead of going, and I love this play by Doute, and this is why we need more Doute, she does not go right after Janet because she knows what's going to happen. Janet's going to deny it and then call Kristen crazy and say, look at what you've done. We can't even be around you. You cause so much stress. Go to Michelle. Go to the other people. Talk to Jasmine about it and throw Janet under the bus because that's what she would do to you.
And I think that we're going to get more of that next season, I would imagine. I think especially if you give Doute time to simmer for a few months and then
Janet's no longer pregnant.
Janet's no longer pregnant, so she's fair game. And you can kind of recap where you've been shunned for this whole season and start to get a little resentful. Yeah. You get resentful Doute back? Oof, good luck, everybody.
I just had a thought, and I know we probably won't even talk about it in the next episode because it's completely irrelevant. But when Jason comes over and he starts talking about she's already talking about baby number 2. What if she wants to get pregnant again for the next season so she can do it again?
She can do this again. She can protect herself. That dude.
If I'm pregnant, they can't come after me.
That's so fucking funny. I don't know.
You just gave birth. Maybe let's take some time.
If she's pregnant again, then I would be hard pressed to not think that a little bit. Just a little bit. But
the old protection pregnancy.
That's really funny. But Jax gives a speech. He finally gives Brittany flowers in front of everybody. Not physically, which would have been nice, but at least he says, I wanted to do, I mean, he's lying through his teeth.
Yeah.
But he's like, I knew I wanted to do this with my wife. And then goes to a confessional and says, I think we beat the odds. Barr kept us together. The future's bright. In what universe What are you talking about? What I don't know what world this man
I have
lives
no
in.
idea.
I've never known, and I don't pretend to know, and I'm glad I don't know. If you understand this guy, you probably have a problem yourself.
Yeah.
But that's when you get hit with the hard 6 months later, and that's for episode number 2, which we're going to get into very shortly. But we're going to save the questions for that one too.
Yeah.
So if you have questions, they will be answered in the next episode. But I mean, this first half
It's
and that's-
incredible.
I was pumped about that too. That they did a good job with Summer House on that end as well, where they ended the actual season with enough time in the episode to really dive into the next thing.
Yep.
A lot of times on these Bravo shows, they will give the last
Like
5 minutes
6 minutes, yeah.
to whatever we really wanted to see. So I'm glad they're finally like, here's a big old chunk of what you came here to see.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I flabbergasted at how successful the season was. It
Been
was
fantastic, but we still got a little bit of a ways to go here.
Yep. So we will see yous in about one tap of your thumb on your phone.
One tap of your thumb, one run to the restroom, one sandwich later.
Yeah. Let's use this as an intermission break. So I wish we had like one of those wacky video. I love when they do those in the movies.
Oh,
they
yeah.
don't do those anymore. Like Quentin Tarantino
does
puts
it.
him in a
Yeah.
few of them.
Michelle's
where-
boyfriend.
Yeah, Michelle's boyfriend. After he gets a foot picture from her, he will do these wacky intermissions where it's like the popcorn dancing. It's like
Yeah.
ding, 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 that kind of
That's
thing.
what we're doing right now. So just imagine that.
Yeah, so imagine me and Shooter in popcorn outfits dancing, and it says intermission, and go get yourself a snack, take a pee-pee, come on back, and we'll get into the second half of this
Hell
bad
yeah.
boy.